Fear. It is the most primal and evocative of our emotions, built into our organic machinery to boost the odds of survival. While many genre films tap into fear, or at least suspense to some level, like how the gangster film noir, western, sci fi, or even a couple musical films might. But it is the horror genre that we have since mass produced to bring our fear to the big picture, so that the audience may confront their own fears with the characters on screen. Horror, like any genre film, follows most or all of its conventions that define the genre. Conventions like certain stars, settings, themes, presentation styles, character types, and narrative formulas. Although not all conventions have to be followed exactly, it's just what defines them. We'll explore the conventions in depth as we analyze John Carpenter's The Thing, which is not only a horror movie, but also a hybrid with sci-fi. To start off, we do not have the usual suspects of horror films, such as Christopher Lee or Vincent Price. While we may not have the all-time greats of horror acting, who bring unique techniques to the set, we do have actors on the cast, such as Wilford Brimley, who have prior horror experience. It just goes to show you that adhering to a genre's convention one-to-one does not guarantee the film's reception. Every genre film addresses certain ideas and concepts that define that genre, like how gangster films are known for the rise of ambitious yet corrupted protagonists. Universal themes in horror are to confront a certain fear. With the rise of monster movies, which The Thing is, the absence of information and control is the strongest theme to follow because they are vital to survival. Now, The Thing is about an alien imitating Earth life by assimilating it, killing it in the process, hiding among the cast of scientists and facilitating their paranoia and self-sabotage for its own interests. Throughout the movie, loyalty and information are critical to the plot and the audience's perception of the movie, with countless red herrings keeping us in the dark, just like the scientists. These points of an unknown hunter and survival carry much of the horror's theming, but the unknowable other also points to sci-fi, if the alien had not already. Genre films are born out of their times, even the genre themselves. Made in the 80s, the Cold War was still going strong. From the 40s till the communist Russia fell in 1991, both sides, US and Russia, were paranoid about the presence of spies blending into their ranks and stealing national secrets to weaponize them. People like Senator McCarthy would essentially go on a witch hunt and incarcerate or blacklist people suspected as communists. While the movie does not appear to be intended as a political commentary, there is no doubt that this was a product of its time where loyalty, truth, and a them or us mentality were all important values. For much of The Thing, you can feel the same tension earlier Americans felt back then, trying to out traitors and monsters to save their own skins. The setting of a genre film also bolsters its intended ideas and feelings, subconsciously creating expectations toward possibilities before the action even starts. Like how the vast expanse of a Western film evokes an untamable wilderness where anything can happen. Typical choices for horror are secluded areas where help will not arrive until the threat won or has been handled already, like the Nostromo from Alien, or the corruption of a familiar and normal place like the monastery in The Nun. The Thing opts for the former, taking place in a research base in Antarctica, with any help being an ocean away. Horror movies are known for their character types, like any genre film. The outcast protagonist, the monster, the lunatic, the good girl, and the prophet. The Thing doesn't have all of these, but it does have a cast that is quite sci-fi, that has a lot of scientists and doctors and mechanics. What makes this cast unique is that there are no exact victim-type characters. Once the threat of a hidden monster is identified, the team, regardless of the current paranoia levels, would certainly create man versus man conflicts. They agree to cooperate for the sake of survival and end a mutual threat. But the Thing is not immune to character type conventions. MacReady, the chopper pilot and de facto protagonist, is a loner type and takes action on his own initiative. Blair, head biologist, is the first to discover the true nature of the monster's powers, and becomes both a lunatic and a prophet. It is not clear when in the movie he was infected, but he was the first to snap and start sabotaging equipment in order to isolate the group. The movie even follows a trope where the protagonist, as in the entire cast, is at fault for the slaughter coming because they rescued the Thing in the form of a dog from the Norwegian who was trying to kill it. Every genre has certain formal techniques to accentuate the idea or emotion that the film's theme is. In horror, the obvious emotion is fear. The main point of focus, then, is the lighting. Shadows conceal danger which we wish to know about, and so we use almost complete shade and silhouettes to obscure them. There's also unnatural angles like Halloween lighting to show different cracks and crevices and the dark inner mechanisms of the eyes. There are some more calm moments throughout the movie where the characters are still in partial shade, a cinematic way of saying that the threat is still looming over the characters. Also, in monster movies, it's universal to keep the monster off screen until it's time for action. The characters just react to the monster's evidence it left behind or to a shot of the monster watching them. In a small documentary on creating the movie, they also spoke about refrigerating the set to sink into hazardous isolation the crew is stuck in. They also had a guy named Rob who is also very particular about lighting because he was the guy who made the props and special effects of the monsters. So certain small bits of dim light were used so as to not give away, it's a prop. You can find a reference to these interviews at the end of the video. Every genre is defined by certain ideas, which very often translate to common story formats. This can change with the subgenre because a movie might want to focus on certain themes. In horror, there is a point where the protagonist must confront the fear, aka the monster, or what it symbolizes. Perhaps it was a misunderstanding and the monster had a benign goal, so the fear came from ignorance of the unknown. Or maybe the monster was born of the protagonist's own imperfections, and those must be conquered before the monster can be. The Thing opts for the raw survival aspect against a genuinely malevolent threat that will assimilate all life on Earth. We see this with much of the hunting aspects, body horror, and the incredible scene where even the scientists aren't entirely sure if they aren't monsters themselves. This movie has many classic horror tropes, which have been done to death and mass-produced for profit rather than artistic expression. But it flips these themes on their heads by masterfully using them in ways to generate suspense and tension, paired with well-timed jump scares, before ultimately going on a gratifying and explosive crusade to kill the monster. And just to mess with the audience some more, the final scene as Childs and MacReady freeze together leaves it ambiguous as to whether the Thing survived. There are theories that Childs is the monster, but we'll never know for sure.
Well, what do we do?
Why don't we just wait here for a little while? See what happens.
Horror is a genre that gets a bad rap, but I argue that it's treated this way because of how the film industry has handled it in the past. Some directors go for pure gore where others get a little too philosophical to get very scared, or the philosophy cuts down on the triumphant final moments. As a genre, horror can be flexible and can explore many different avenues, but many past horror flicks fail to bring the audience into the world that they are presented and feel as the characters do, from exposition all the way to conclusion. The Thing succeeds at this and provides the right balance of humanity and monster. It does for me anyway, and for that, I call it a masterpiece in horror media. And here are the references. Bye!